Well, we're looking around the forest and just out exploring today. My name is Andy. I'm a naturalist with the Elkhart County Park Department. Just having a little bit of fun today. It's a nice day, and we're wanting to know about some of the habitats that are in our area. This is a forest habitat here, and if you look over there, you can see the forest has been cut down, but right at the line here, this belongs to the county park department. And this is one reason that we have to have Parks Department, so that we can have this area for future generations. This is a forested area, so it is a nice habitat for certain different animals and plants as well. What makes a good habitat? Well, you got to have water, which you got water here. You got to have food and shelter. So you really need those three things. Also space. If nothing wants to live in a small space, so you really have to have space, and of course you have to have others of your species if you want to continue your species. So that makes a good habitat. So we're going to look at the habitat and maybe what animals live down here. Hopefully we'll see something down here, but we're going to look around and just look at the different kind of habitats we got here and different kind of animals that we got. All right, we're down here in the forest, and I've noted the hole here. Now, usually when I'm in the forest and I see these holes, the first thing kids ask is, what kind of hole is that? And that's what I'd like to ask you. What kind of animal would have made a hole in the ground like this? It's kind to go straight down and then over. Not very big, about the size of my hand. So you can see it's not going to be an elephant, because obviously elephant's not going to fit down in there. And elephants aren't around here, so we know it's not an elephant hole. But that was made by our friend, a chipmunk. So the chipmunk, boys and girls, lives all over these forests. And if you find this same hole out in a field, that would be a 13-line ground squirrel, which look like a chipmunk, but they're not a chipmunk. But they're the same size, and they look quite a bit the same when you see them from a distance. Okay, so a lot of kids say it's a snake hole. But snakes don't make holes in the ground, okay? No such thing as a snake hole, all right? So that's a chipmunk hole. It goes down about 6 inches, and then it curves over. So that's a chipmunk hole right there. Oh, we have look over there. We got some baby foxes over there. This is the fox hole right here. So there's the fox hole. And doesn't look like there's been a lot of activity in there. But they take an old groundhog hole and they just dig it out, and then the mama comes in, she digs that out, and she has her babies in there. They're called kits. K-I-T-S, kits. So the mama comes in there. That's the only time she uses a groundhog hole is when she's gonna have her babies. And she'll have maybe 4 or 5 babies in there. She can have more, but generally speaking, she has about 4 or 5 babies in there. And she lives in a forested area like this. Doesn't always have to be a forest, just as long as it's a good habitat. Okay, so she's probably around here somewhere. But at least we get to see the babies. So we'll look at that. Oh, there's the mother. There's the mother. I'm gonna try to sneak around her. Okay, I try to sneak around her. See if I can catch her for you, all right? I try to sneak around her. I got her. There she is. There she is, boys and girls. Nice doggy. This is our friend, the common fox, the red fox, and the American red fox, boys and girls. And they're very common around here. Usually don't see them because they come out after nighttime. Obviously, this is a stuffed one. We would not bother the mama because, of course, she got babies, and mama can be pretty fierce. She can really bite you pretty good. So we would not bother the real mama, but we wanted to show you what a real red fox looks like. And like I said, they're very common around here. You see them all the time. And back in the olden days, we did not have foxes out on the East Coast. We didn't have foxes until like the 1800s out on the East Coast. But now we've got them all over the place, and they're not going to attack you or anything like that. They're very good very good animals to have around. They don't bother anybody. They just want to be left alone, basically. So this is our buddy, the American red fox. Okay, we're down here at the wetland habitat, and just looking at all the critters that live in a wetland habitat. And we've got a lot of homes here. Now remember, these are homes. They're not habitats, okay? A home is something where something lives. A habitat, you have to have food, water, and shelter. And so this is a muskrat habitat that we see. They're made usually out of cattails, which is a plant that grows up in the wetlands. It just depends on what is available. That's what the muskrat makes his home out of. And they'll spend their winter inside of that lodge right there. So here we got our friend the muskrat. And the muskrat is a very common animal down here. We don't see him a lot, but he is a common animal. And he's also called a river rat sometimes. But he does live. There's quite a few of them that live in here. You can tell by the amount of homes that they've built here. But it's our most common animal that lives around a wetland area. And unfortunately, these guys don't live very long. And about a year is about as long as they live before they die. So in captivity, of course, they can live a lot longer. But they're usually shot or trapped before they get to be too old. But they've got a lot of enemies. Just about everything that likes to eat meat like to eat these guys. And so that's one reason they live in this habitat, is because they feel safe and secure. They got a lot of food right in here. And so that's why they live around here. But if you look around here, you'll see other things as well, such as the wood duck house that we put up here, because the wood ducks have to come in and they have to make their homes here. And so we have to help them out a little bit. We got a goose and a couple of ducks down there. I don't know if you can see them. What you can't see is actually inside of the water. And we've got a lot of frogs and aquatic insects. Aquatic just means water, and they live in here. And so this is a good area to find a lot of animals, a lot of different kind of animals. And the reason is because there's so many different kind of animals in here. There's lots of different kinds of plants and things like that. So this is a good habitat for a lot of different things. You can find turtles and snakes and frogs all over the place. Okay, so we're here at the edge of the forest, which is a kind of a brushy habitat. Different animals like different habitats. And we can see here that a groundhog has dug a hole. What has happened, the foxes come in, and then they have taken over this hole for themselves. So most likely this is an abandoned groundhog hole here. So the foxes come in, they take over this, and here we can see some evidence that there's been foxes. You can see tracks right over here the foxes have been. You can see a bone there, and here's a bone here that the foxes have, it looks like a raccoon skull right there. And here we got some fox scat that they kind of spread all over. There's another fox scat right over there. So this is definitely taken over by a family of foxes, and this is a groundhog hole. Now, if you look over there, you'll see the actual groundhog in his hole. Now, they usually make an entrance and an exit, and that way they can get out if something gets in their home and tries to get them. So the groundhog goes down inside here, and he'll come out on the other side. So these two are connected right here. And groundhog is an amazing animal. He does hibernate through the winter. You know what hibernate means, right? They sleep through the winter. Well, he hibernates, and when he hibernates, he really hibernates. I mean, if you stick your hand down in there, of course there might be other things in there, so you wouldn't want to stick your hand down in there. But if you stick your hand down in there, you grabbed him by the tail and pulled him out, he would not even wake up in the wintertime because he's that fast asleep. His body temperature is just above freezing. He's only breathing about 5 times every minute, and his heartbeat goes from about 80 to 100 beats a minute all the way down to about 5 beats per minute. So they're almost dead when they're hibernating underneath here. A lot of other animals use their dens as well, especially in the wintertime. You might find a raccoon or something like that that has used their den underneath there. So a lot of things use the den. This is a good habitat for a lot of animals. You remember what habitat means? You need 3 things to make a good habitat, okay? You need food, water, and shelter. Those are the three basic things that you need to make a good habitat. Okay, we talked quite a bit about animal habitat, but plants also have their own habitat as well. Some plants like to live in the water, like this duckweed right here. If I take this duckweed and I put it up on the land, the duckweed will not be happy and they'll die. They like the water. Okay, so they're aquatic plants here, what we call aquatic plants. And they've got a big long root on them, so they can get in the water, they can get some nutrients in the water, out of the water there. They're really made for living in the water. Many plants are. As a matter of fact, these trees that we see leaning over here, those are black willow. And usually where you find water, you'll find these because they hardly ever will grow if there's not water. It's certain plants like certain habitats, just like animals like certain habitats, okay? So some plants like a lot of sunshine. Some plants don't like very much sunshine at all. They like shade. So plants are like animals in that particular way. They got to have a good habitat if they're going to be happy. Okay, here we're in a yard, and this is a different kind of habitat. You know, you might want to think, what kind of animals would live here? Well, you might find a rabbit or something like that in here. But mostly you're going to find a lot of insects that are eating the grass and things like that. And if you look right here, we found something that's going underneath the ground. And if I poke my finger down in there, and I don't get my finger bit by whatever's living in there, there's an animal that lives in here, and it's got everything it needs right here. It's got its food, it's got its shelter, and it's got its water. Because what it eats, they are insectivores, so they eat insects. And so they find insects that they eat underneath here. And as they're eating the insect, they get all the water that they need, and they got shelter underneath here. So as you can see, he's got everything he needs. So if it's an earthworm, he might be under there. He's got everything he needs under there. But they have to come out every once in a while in order to breed or something like that. But they spend almost their entire life underneath the ground, so they've got everything that they need. Now, if you take something like a meadow vole is like a mouse with a short tail, and they live underneath the ground. Remember the groundhog? Groundhogs live underneath the ground, but they don't have everything that they need under there. So that becomes their home, not their habitat. All right, well, we're talking about the habitats for plants. And here we got some moss that is growing in the logs. They love this shaded area where they got moisture down here. And so this is happy moss right here. It's growing very, very well. If I'd put that on rocks out in the sunshine, it's not going to grow as nice. And different types of moss like different types of habitat. So here we got over here we got a bunch of moss just covering this log right here. And you can see here we got a toadstool here that is that's happy with this log as well. So different plants are happy in different types of habitats, just like different animals are happy with different types of habitat. Okay, kids, here's our last question, okay? What are the three things that an animal needs, or a plant, for a habitat? You gotta have three things to have a habitat. Okay.